We now bring in CBS Sports NFL analyst Emory Hunt as Cincinnati almost with all their ducks in a row. It'll certainly be helpful, though, to head into the season with no distractions or absences as they're looking to return to postseason play for the first time since 2022. If we go back 2023, we had that Joe Burrow injury, and then 2024, well, they finished the season with 5 straight wins, but that slow start to the season is what kept them out of the postseason picture. So, Emory, this year around 2025, what's the key for Cincy to get over that hump and back into the postseason?
The key is, number one, Kiana, that they all have to stay healthy, number one. Number two, the defense has to get better. I would say significantly better, but that may be a little bit overstating it. Last year, they were 25th in total defense. If they could just get to 15, I think with the way they can put the points on the board, they'll be just fine. We saw the St. Louis Rams, I know I'm going way back. We saw the greatest show on turf win the Super Bowl with the number 1 offense and 15th ranked defense. So if they can score, the defense just has to be decent and get a few stops a game, and that'll help them out. And then the expectation is a deep postseason run. They can't just keep window shopping with the postseason and the Super Bowl. They got to get back there. They got to kick that door down. They have to get past Baltimore when Lamar Jackson is healthy. That's something Joe Burrow hasn't been able to do in his career. When Lamar Jackson is healthy for the full season, they don't go to the postseason. So he has to get through that nemesis in his own division. But I like what they've done in the offseason. This offense added Noah Fant. They've added, two rookies in Jalen Rivers out of Miami and Dylan Fairchild out of Georgia, who's going to start along the offensive line. The run game is going to be solid with Chase Brown. They drafted Taj Brooks. They bring back Samaje Perine. And on defense, we all have been talking about Shamar Stewart and TJ Slayton, the free agent defensive tackle, and they've done a good job getting Demetrius Knight, the rookie, my number 5 inside linebacker, and Barrett Carter was my number 9 outside linebacker. So I like some of the moves. Health, get better on defense. This offense should take care of the rest.
Okay, well, hold on. You said they got to stop window shopping when it comes to the Super Bowl and in the postseason. So what is their ceiling? Is it realistic to call them maybe a Super Bowl contender where we stand?
Yes, all health permitting, yes, because if now Trey Hendrickson is back in the building, so the next step is for him to sign that deal, and we'll be back on this show again talking about him signing, what that means for the Bengals, right? So that's number one. But outside of that, they do have the offense, so they have the puncher's chance, and when you are able to put points up on the board and score the ball like at a high clip like they can, they have 3 great receivers in my opinion. When you think about Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Yosavash came on last year, and Jermaine Burton's going to take a next step forward. You have 2 good tight ends. We talked about Noah Fant to go along with Mike Gesicki. So yes, offensively speaking, if you could average 30 to 35 points, you're going to always have a shot. And if that defense, like I said before, can get to 15, the expectation changes to, hey, not only just make the playoffs and be happy with that, you got to go deep into the playoffs and get to the Super Bowl once again.
Okay, well, the Bills, they have no problem making it to postseason play. It's just getting over that hump to the Super Bowl. That's their problem, but it appears they'll have to at least maybe open up the season without one of their top wideouts, Khalil Shakir, sustaining a high ankle sprain on Friday and is expected to miss 4 to 5 weeks. But if we look at last season, he was Josh Allen's top target last year. Meanwhile, their receiving corps has dealt with a number of injuries through the first week of training camp. So how concerned should Bills fans be at this point?
Not as concerned, man. And I know this is going to sound terrible and disrespectful, but it's not terrible and it's not disrespectful. Khalil Shakir is a fantastic receiver, but he's not Randy Moss, right? And I think when you look at what they can move around on offense, what you really need is for a big jump in Keon Coleman's game, the outstanding young receiver out of Florida State. He's a fantastic wideout. If he takes that next step forward and becomes that significant number 1, they'll be fine. They bring in Josh Palmer, who's a really good receiver. You also have Elijah Moore, veteran guy, KJ Hamler still out there playing ball, and Curtis Samuel. So I think they could find the production to replace Khalil Shakir. Now, if they were missing a Keon Coleman or someone like that, maybe even a Josh Palmer, then we would have some issues. So I think as long as they have those 2 guys out there playing really well and Coleman takes a significant step forward, we saw some flashes last year. If he can bring that talent that we saw at Florida State into year 2 at Buffalo, then this injury, you can kind of ease him back into the lineup and not have that hard deadline of 4 to 5 weeks.
That's fair because, even if it is not, a Keon Coleman or you're looking at some of their depth, the Bills can at least lean on their running back core, right? Well, kind of, because running back James Cook, he didn't participate in practice on Sunday, and when asked why, his response was business. He fielded other questions, including if he was going to return to practice on Monday, and the response didn't change. Taking a look at the tweet right here, kept repeating business over and over. Now, Cook is looking for a long-term contract extension despite participating in mandatory team activities up to this point. I mean, he's hinted that he's seeking a $15 million per year in a new deal, and he's had back-to-back 1,000-yard-plus seasons. So, Emory, my question for you is, the dollars he's asking for making sense?
Yes. Listen, you got to strike while the iron hot. I love this for James Cook. Listen, I got brought on by CBS Sports HQ. After my first segment, I thought I killed it. I went right to corporate office and said, put me right next to Gayle King, and I want a Saturday morning cartoon. I didn't get none of that, but at the end of the day, you got to make sure you shoot for the moon. And then if you fail, you fall amongst the stars. I love this for him because, listen, you talked about his back-to-back 1,000-yard season. Look at what he did in the postseason. We were all watching this ball game screaming, why have they gone away from James Cook? This was the problem in Kansas City. This is why they lost to the Chiefs. They were leaning on Cook. He was tearing that defense up in KC, and it got away from him. So he has all the leverage because back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, led the league in touchdowns, rushing touchdowns last year, proved that he could be that bell cow guy. And last season, he didn't put the ball on the turf like he did the year prior, so you could trust him even more. So this is a significant part of their offense, more so than Khalil Shakir being out 4 to 5 weeks. They better get James Cook signed and pay him handsomely.
I also think there might be a slight bias here, given that this is coming from a running back to another running back. But nonetheless, he's saying that he wants to get paid. He hinted on his Instagram more so to the likes of Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, that's Saquon Barkley. And if you look at the numbers, Emory, you know what they say, they don't lie. But I want to go to another team with wide receiver woes, because I'm looking in your background, and it's like you already knew where we were going here. We go from Buffalo and we go to the Bay, the 49ers, adding some insurance to their receiving corps, signing journeyman Robbie Chosen. Well, Brandon Ayuk still out while battling back from that ACL and MCL injury. And then you got Juwan Jennings, who wants to be paid for his services. Then we're going to take this a step deeper because Christian McCaffrey, he missed 13 games last season due to his own series of injuries, and hoping that he can return back to form. But what do you make of the Niners' skill position group now with this addition of Robbie Chosen?
If there's any positions that I'm not worried about with San Francisco, it's the skill positions. What I always focus on when we were talking about San Francisco, Kiana, is the offensive line and defensive line. They will find skill players. They will find productivity. They have Isaac Guerrero in the backfield. The rookie Jordan James out of Oregon is a fantastic back. And at wide receiver, listen, it's going to be a big year for DeMarcus Robinson, whom we always watched on Sundays with the Rams, and for whatever reason found a way to score touchdowns every week for the first score for the Rams. So he's a productive player. And he got some rookies. You know, you bring in Isaiah Nair, undrafted rookie free agent out of Nebraska, but he's a big body guy. Guys are going to get healthy. They still have George Kittle in the slew of tight ends. So as long as they're able to run the football with that scheme and they got better on defense within the front seven, everything else is going to fall into place. Because, again, we weren't talking about Juwan Jennings this time last year, and he ended up being Brock Purdy's go-to guy, number one option, crucial guy in the red zone on third down. So there's always going to be someone that's going to step up and take advantage of the opportunity, and I think they can do that. Jordan Wilkins is the guy they drafted out of Ole Miss, fluid receiver in and out of his break. So they got some options, but as long as that offensive line is intact, and Kyle Shanahan is calling those run plays and teams don't want to stop the run, I am not worried about who lines up out wide at receiver and or tight end for San Francisco.
There we go. That's why they call him Third and Juwan, because you see that connection with him and Brock Purdy, but also another name that was on that list, Ricky Pearsall, entering into his second year. Obviously, first year was a bit hindered by some of those injuries, but came along when he was healthy and available. So not sweating the Niners skill positions at this point, at least. Well, as always, Emory Hunt, we appreciate you stopping by with the best. Thank you. Speaking of the best, how about the best training camp coverage? Because CBS Sports Training Camp Tour continues. We got 3 stops on Monday, including this new look Commanders team. And hey, also what's going on with their wide receiver, Terry McLaurin? We'll probably find out more on that. Also stopping by Cleveland to check in on the Browns and their quarterback situation. A whole plethora of signal callers over there, and the Falcons on Monday. Meanwhile, Tuesday, we're heading to Houston. Check in on the Texans, see if they can get back to where they were 2 seasons ago with C.J. Stroud in tow.